I have to become one of the toughest, a devil dog, a jarhead. Life as a Marine didn't solve my problems. I became an alcoholic, an adulterer, and an angry suicidal man. I look back on my life now, knowing it could have been so much different. I was born in 1968. Growing up in the 70s and 80s, I thought I had a pretty normal childhood. My dad worked and my mom stayed home with my two younger sisters. There wasn't too much talk about God growing up or even going to church. Dad was a quiet man and mom was pretty much the disciplinarian. The discipline was far more than just that. Unfortunately, there was a lot of verbal, mental, and physical abuse along the way. Staying to myself pretty much my whole childhood, I played sports as much as possible. It was an escape for a while for me. It was only a few years ago that I realized I was carrying a lot of those hurts with me like a backpack on a hiking trip. At 18, I knew I wanted to leave home. I briefly researched the branches of the military. The Marine Corps was the one for me. I thought, I'll show everyone, I'll make my parents proud. I carried so much hurt and was seeking approval, thinking I must have made so many mistakes as a kid to get those beatings. I went to the MEP Center in Chicago, already knowing it was the few, the proud for me. After testing, even the recruiter asked, "Why the Marines? Your scores are pretty high, why not the Navy? Air Force?" My response was simple. No, I have to become one of the toughest, a devil dog, a jarhead. I worked very hard in boot camp. I wanted to be meritoriously promoted upon graduation. I achieved this goal and was a proud PFC, thinking, well, my parents will see that I was in the top 5 of my platoon of 100, they will be proud of me. I was chosen after infantry training school at Camp Pendleton K. I was in 0311 Rifleman, my MOS, to go to Marine Barracks 8th and I in Washington, D.C. Well, it never did. I arrived in D.C. early one morning around 5 a.m. Driving from the airport in a taxi cab, I remember passing the U.S. Capitol all lit up thinking, man, this is it, everyone will just be so proud of me, I'll be happy now. That moment never came to be, not until 2017. Life as a Marine didn't solve my problems. It just added drinking, fornication, and all the things that made my life worse. After my time in the USMC, I spent time with the Sheriff's Department. It was always something to do with a uniform. Was it respect? Attention? Even these years were the same. Drinking, anger, and now suicidal thoughts entered the picture. I got married and had 3 children. During this time I was an alcoholic, an adulterer, and an angry suicidal man. One night those thoughts intensified big time. It was maybe 2003. My now ex-wife and the kids were gone. I sat on the back porch drinking heavily. I began to just say out loud, I want to die, I don't want to live anymore. I had a loaded .45 sitting next to me on the step. I heard the devil say, do it! Nobody loves you, nobody cares about you, you are a worthless man, just kill yourself now. I took the bait of the devil. At that moment I placed that loaded .45 in my mouth. I was crying, I was shaking. Then I did what the devil said to do. I pulled the trigger. I pulled that trigger with hands shaking, crying, and feeling alone. Nothing happened. The pistol jammed. Remember, I was a Marine now with the Sheriff's Department. I know how to use a gun. I became so angry at that moment, I slammed the gun down on the step in total rage and anger. The gun fired. It fired a round into a tree in the backyard. My words at that moment were, I can't even kill myself right. This was the first attempt. The devil got me to try a couple more times. Those times were with prescription sleeping pills. I just wanted the pain to stop. I just wanted the anger to go away. Even after taking bottles of pills, the doctors were always amazed. They would tell me, your kidneys are fine, your liver is good. Fast forward to 2017. It was 13 to 14 years later and I was still facing the same struggles. I was so tired, a walking dead man. I was depressed and angry with the world. I moved out, broke up with this woman, and wanted to sit alone. I would sit on the floor in the dark and not answer the door. This was my life, hiding from the world, angry and depressed. God, if you're real, I need your help. I'm not sure you can even love me for all the bad things I have done. I just know I can't do this anymore. I can't breathe and I'm so tired. Help me, God. Looking at the sunrise, I noticed and felt something different. It was like I was breathing easier. I felt the presence of God at that very moment. I heard a voice. It was a calm, soft, loving voice, but I also heard an authority with this voice. I heard and felt his authority in these words: "Are you done? I know you are tired, but I have always been by your side. You were never alone, I was with you." At that moment I felt something I never felt before in my life. I joyfully welcomed Jesus into my heart at that moment. Still sitting there with all these visions, answers started to come to me. All the times I was alone, all the times I was crying out and angry, I was not alone. When I thought back to the time I pulled that trigger, I saw God's powerful yet loving hand over the top of mine. It was God that saved me that night. It has always been God. Each and every time, it was Him. Even the times I don't know about, it was Him. When you accept Jesus Christ into your heart, there's no magical moment, no turning on of a light switch. It's just the beginning of a walk where you submit and surrender each and every day. You give Him your worries, your troubles, and your burdens. Just give it all to Him. This doesn't mean the devil is through messing with you either. He's always going to try. And after you give your heart to Jesus, the devil is going to try even harder. But if we have an intimate relationship with God, through spending time with Him through prayer and worship, the devil doesn't have a chance. God wants us to spend time with Him. He is so good. As you love on God, God is always loving on you back. The girlfriend I broke up with that never gave up on me is now my wife. She is a beautiful woman of God. We minister together, we worship together, and we love Jesus together. Remember, whatever you go through, whatever struggles arrive, you are never ever alone. With God all things are possible. I praise, worship, and glorify you, King Jesus.